Hi everyone, it looks like we are live. So really sorry there for the hiccup just then and being a little bit delayed with coming on live, and also for those of you maybe that had the other link and are now coming in late with this new link. So yeah, I hope you find us where we are now, find this event, and I welcome you to this live podcast with myself and Naomi Engelkamp. So just on Nygaard now, sorry, Naomi. So just to briefly mention, I've been a wellbeing coach for 10 years. I used to have serious chronic fatigue syndrome in my early 20s, which left me nearly bedbound at times. And I have been on a big journey of healing many years ago, and have spent many years in the work of working with the mind-body connection with illness, and how to help people make a full and lasting health recovery from a variety of different illnesses. I also co-run Women's Wellness Circle, which is an organisation which helps women online and in person to heal from chronic health problems. So yeah, Naomi, do you want to briefly introduce yourself and then the flow of today, the hour today?
Thanks so much, Fran. It's such a pleasure to be joining you today. So my name is Naomi Nygaard, and I work as a therapist and coach with mainly women, but some men as well, to help shift out of compulsive addictive patterns mainly, also other kinds of illness. And like Fran, my focus is very much on the link between the psychological and the physical, and how really through my developing work I'm finding that there's very little separation. They are completely one affects the other. It almost doesn't make any sense to me to say words like mind and body. And I'm also very interested and very passionate about helping people shift out of these splits in the mind and body, splits in ideas, splits in our personalities, splits in our inner worlds that create splits in our relationships, and the suffering that causes when we feel really split off from the world. I mostly work with people who are compulsive around food, either restricting or overeating. And I find that really many of the problems that we have as humans are similar. And it's an exciting thing to discover, because I think many of the solutions that we have are similar too. And what I'm also finding is that really uncovering the blocks to love are much more simple than sometimes I think our minds tell us, or our thoughts tell us. That really the love that we all seek in this world, and the health and the well-being, are much closer than we might think. They start in our bodies, and they start in this moment. So I'm really delighted to be here on this event, and joining Fran, who I just love working with. And yeah, I'm going to take us through the flow of this next hour. We will start to engage more with what it is that has brought us here. So Fran and I are not coaches, therapists by accident. We really came to this work through our own suffering and healing. So we're going to share a little bit more about that process for us, but also some of the experiences of our clients. Obviously not directly talking about any of our clients, but really some of the things that we've noticed in the work that we do with others. And then I'm going to be taking you through an embodied practice where right now, today, you can start to get a sense of your own inner world, and where you that may sometimes feel like parts that you feel have sabotaged your life or caused difficulty, perhaps other parts if you don't like those parts, but really just to get a sense of the lay of the land, and maybe start to develop more of a friendliness and curiosity towards certain parts of your inner world. But very much grounded in your body now today. You know, this is not a theoretical exercise. This needs to be an exercise that's connected and relevant. Then Fran is going to share a little bit about family constellations. So that's perhaps what I do, but on more of a wider scale. So where we fit into our own family systems, both ancestrally and today with the people that live in our lives today, our families. She's going to share about the history. She's going to share about her own personal experience and her healing from chronic illness, and some of the work that she does with her clients, and what she's seen as the shifts in their lives through this work. Then we're going to share a little bit about the retreat that she and I are running in November and how it might be able to be of benefit to you. And we're going to end with a very profound practice where you can have an experience yourself of family constellations, of internal family systems, and the link between the two, and how it links to your own personal life. Then there's going to be an opportunity for some questions and answers about the work that we're doing, about family constellations and internal family systems in general. And we're going to end with a grounded, embodied mindfulness practice, just so that everyone can come back to their bodies and really leave this hour with a sense of being resourced, with a sense of being hopeful and open, and really changed from this hour. So that's generally a flow of how this next hour will look. But Fran, over to you. What sorts of things are coming up in your mind here, just at the beginning of this call?
Great. Well, I noticed that 17 people so far are found us and are listening live. So welcome to all of our listeners. And I'm so glad you found us, even though the link had to change, because I am new to using YouTube Live and made a slight error. So I hope so. I'm so glad many of you are here now. So it'd be really nice, actually, if you wanted to write in on the chat your name and where you're coming from. So you'll either have the option to do that below the video or perhaps to the right of it. So if you want to write down your name and where you're listening in from, that would be great to hear from you. And also, if you have any questions coming up throughout the next hour that you want answered during this call, then please ask your questions away. Please ask away anything that's coming up for you. And also, we will also be sharing a little bit about an upcoming opportunity to work with Naomi and I in a deeper way, and that's for the women on the call today. And men are very welcome to be here as well. And we have an opportunity for women to work with us in an in-person retreat setting, which we'll talk more about later as well. So yeah, we're going to start, I think, really, Naomi, with your practice, with your embodied practice inspired by internal family systems. So yeah, I invite you to start us and leading us in that.
Thank you so much, Fran. Yeah, so just become aware of where you are spatially, how you're positioned in your seat right now. You might be sitting, you might be lying. Perhaps if you're driving, maybe just pull over. And I'm not sure if this is really a practice that's safe to do while driving. Equally, operating machinery, etc. Just gentle pottering might be appropriate, but really this is a practice for being in a seated position or lying down, and just make sure that every part of you feels comfortable. So I'm never very keen about sort of having meditation or any kind of practice like this being an endurance test. This is an opportunity for you to find your place of most comfort, and for me that is usually with a spine that's upright but gentle. Not rigid, not standing to attention, but just gently upright. And then start to become aware of, I'm going to name a few areas actually that I find tension can build up in, and I think typically that others can find it, that tension builds up there as well. So, and just bring your awareness to those places, and maybe just gently, lightly touch them as if with a feather. So you're bringing your awareness now to your belly and stomach area. And just see if you notice a link between that area and your neck, head and jaw. And start to bring some breath and openness to these areas. We tend to hold a lot of tension around the eyes, around the jaw, around the stomach and hands. Really overworking sometimes in the body. And I'm going to start to invite you to notice what parts might be connected with those areas of tension. Particularly the stomach. It could be that you can start to sense some anxious parts that hold anxious emotions, maybe parts that are working quite hard for you. And this is not an exercise of trying to change or push any of our parts into a place of submission or control. If that sort of thing is coming up in the mind, then that's another part, and just gently ask that part to relax. This is really an experience of being with all the parts of ourselves. With a curiosity, with an openness. And really going within, really sensing where the breath moves in the body. I'm going to invite you particularly to draw your attention around the area of the heart. Maybe take a few deep, slightly deeper breaths. And just get a sense of the lay of the land around the heart area. Now this can be your physical heart, just towards the left of your body, as we know it, or it could be an area that you know as the heart. And get a sense of how open this area feels. This is not about judgment or forcing anything to happen in particular, but just really get a sense of what it feels like around this area. Does it feel open and expansive? Does it feel like there's enough room and space for your heart to grow and be open? Or perhaps it feels slightly more guarded or congested. Particularly notice how much space there is there, how much freedom for the breath to move, for your awareness to move, for the heart to expand. It might actually feel that there's a bit more of a compactness about that area, and if that's the case, then that's absolutely fine. Just notice and maybe turn towards that area with a sense of just seeing if the parts that think it's important to create that sense of compactness, maybe from a place of wanting you to be safe. See if those parts can start to relax. Let them know that there is a way where there can be more space around your heart, that it's safe for that to happen. And all the while, just get a sense of how your body is responding to this invitation to be in the area of the heart. It could be that this is quite a new exercise. It could be that parts of you find this a little bit bewildering, or some parts are excited by it. Whatever's going on in the mind and in the body, just seeing if there's a way in which there can be relaxation around this process. An openness to see what's going to happen next. And really reassure your parts that they're safe, that you're there, that you're with them, that they don't need to run the show, they don't need to be responsible for everything, that this is their chance in this next hour to relax, maybe to take in some new learning, some new information. And if any parts want to take you away into your thoughts or into thoughts of other things, maybe just ask those parts to just allow you to set aside this time to really be here with us. Let them know it's safe for you to be inside your body and that you're there all the while. And any parts of you that like to overwork, maybe invite those parts to just put their feet on the coffee table with a hot cup of tea, or lounge on a sun lounger. Any parts that are really struggling to row upstream, figure this all out, maybe just gently invite them to put their oars inside the boat and let themselves drift on this river. It can sometimes feel very good to be in the area of the heart. It can sometimes feel very relaxing to feel that actually there is more space in that area than we might have thought. And sometimes it feels more challenging. Parts of us really want to keep us guarded around that area. And if that's the case, then that's absolutely fine. And the invitation from me is to just be with the parts of you that need to protect that area, to let them know that you understand, that you're there. And we're going to go as gently as feels safe to all parts of you. And when you feel ready, just start to bring a little deeper breath into the body now. Notice every part of the body from the neck to the jaw, letting those parts be more relaxed if that feels safe and comfortable. All the way down to the feet. You might want to wriggle your toes a little bit just to affirm the entirety of you. Drawing a little more breath now into the area of the heart and the lungs. Letting the belly be relaxed. Noticing how the face is, whether any tension is in the face. See whether you can feel the change in your whole state when you just experiment with letting the face be calm and still. Drawing a little more breath now in through the nose, all the way down to the lower belly. And thanking your parts for joining us in this meditation. All of them, any anxious ones, any playful ones, any curious ones. Let them know that you're there and that you love them all. You want to get to know them all. Reassure them that there is a process here where that is possible. That you can get to know them, you can help them do work within your system that they find nourishing and effortless and fun and manageable. And that this process is available to all of them. All parts of you are welcome. Letting out a final breath now and coming back to this space. And we're going to move on to the next part of the flow. Fran, I'm going to hand over to you and just invite you to share a little bit about your journey through working with family constellations and what came before your invitation from the universe to start to look at family constellations. How you really came to be passionate about this work and the need that you found inside yourself to really embrace this work.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Nao, so much for that practice. I really feel like so much more embodied from it, in any parts of me that were anxious about the technology issues or whatever at the start have just kind of softened. And so thank you so much for taking us through that. And I notice there's a few more people with us now as well. So welcome to you. Yeah, so I became passionate about family constellations personally because I had done a lot of work on myself to get myself fully well from chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, in my early 20s. And then I carried on my personal development journey, and I was still aware of quite a few body tension, sort of trauma patterns my body was carrying. And I started to come to the conclusion that what I was carrying didn't all belong to me. It didn't all start with me. And I found that through inner inquiry and through doing EFT and various different processes on myself. Through my work with practitioners, I came to that understanding. And that led to me becoming very interested in the model of family constellations work. So I started to do some training in family constellations work a few years ago to really explore this method more deeply, partly for my own personal experience and benefits, but also because I saw with many clients that they had done a lot of work on their own personal histories and a lot of work on themselves, a lot of self-development work, a lot of healing work, yet some of them still weren't getting the shifts that they seem to deserve as a result of all of that work. And it became clear to me that with certain clients that they were steeped in a family system that was keeping certain patterns in place that I felt was really beneath some of the chronic physical symptoms they were still experiencing. So I became passionate to explore it for myself, for my own healing, but also because I felt that it would really benefit clients if I could really develop a deep understanding of this work and be able to offer this work to other people. So in the last year, I've also been training in Family Constellations for Serious Illness, with probably the leading expert in that particular field of constellation work, which is looking at how illnesses are often actually connected to some unresolved family issue in the family system that the person who is ill is very heavily identified with unconsciously, is unconsciously carrying a load for the whole family system. So really fascinating work. Stefan Hausner, he's written a book called Even If It Costs Me My Life, essentially that we can even, there's a stress that we can be carrying can lead us towards losing our life, and that can be because of some hidden loyalty to something in the family system that's not resolved. So yeah, absolutely fascinating work, and I know that many people have found it really beneficial. Many of my clients have been able to make steps forwards that they weren't able to make before understanding this body of work and this way of looking at what might be going on beneath chronic physical symptoms. The work developed from a man named Burt Hellinger from Germany, who has spent some time in Africa with the Zulu tribe, and they had a tradition of honouring the ancestors a lot and working with the ancestors a lot. And actually, I think he went as a missionary there, but felt like he ended up learning more from the culture there than he was bringing to them. And he integrated his understanding there with his background in psychotherapy and developed this family constellation model of working, which has traditionally been done in groups, where you get different members of a group to represent different members of your family system, and the people representing the different family members will pick up on and feel feelings that and things that perhaps need to be said to bring about more of a flow of love in the family system. So he was an amazing, I mean, he is still an amazing man. He still works today. I think he calls his work something different now, and he works in a slightly different way now, but his work has really taken off around the world, and I feel like it's a really important healing that comes from family constellations work, and it's needed on our planet today. A lot of us, people are carrying a lot from previous generations, and this kind of work helps to sort of unwind some of that. It's almost like the kind of unresolved traumas of the past are kind of seeking resolution in us, in our generation, or in us today, or those who start to wake up to this possibility and these kind of ideas. And there is actually scientific evidence about this in the field of epigenetics, that the genes can actually be changed as a result of past trauma. For instance, with Holocaust survivors, the ancestors of Holocaust survivors, that their genes have changed in a way that these are more susceptible to post-traumatic stress disorder and to various illnesses. But actually that those epigenetic changes can change back as a result of psychotherapeutic work. And there is a certain amount of evidence about all of this now, and the power of this kind of work for helping to resolve those kind of issues. So it's becoming more understood. And there's some basic principles are things like that everyone in a family system has a right to belong. So that means if there has been maybe a child that was miscarried or aborted in a previous generation, or maybe there's been an early death like in the Holocaust, and if after such an event the family members around it just haven't got the resources to deal with that situation, go into survival mode, don't process the trauma, and don't really include that event fully in their awareness and really resolve it, then that stays in the energetic field of the family, and as someone in a subsequent generation can pick up on that and can feel that and can almost take the place of that person. Hence the title, Even If It Costs Me My Life. They can always sort of follow them to that fate, unless they become aware of the fact that they have this inner loyalty to this unresolved pain in the family, and then it can start to shift, and that burden can start to be removed from somebody. So yeah, it's really, really amazing work, and can be very, very powerful. And I really feel for some people can be one of the keys that's needed to unlock what's causing the chronic health problems or the emotional health problems, whatever the issues are. And I know for me personally, for many of my clients, it's been really beneficial, and I'm really excited to see where continuing evolving into my own journey as a facilitator of this kind of work will take me, and also the people I work with in groups and one-to-one. You can also do this work one-to-one, and I combine it with EFT or tapping, because I feel that the tapping or emotional freedom technique really helps to clear the energy disturbance beneath it, and really helps to accelerate the power of EFT, and particularly when you're doing it one-to-one as well. I think to have that extra resource can be really helpful, but also in group settings as well. So yeah, anything else to say? I think that's probably enough for me. I don't know if you want to add anything, Naomi, about family constellations before talking more about internal family systems. So maybe a bit more about your experience with family constellations, clients, or that sort of thing.
Thank you so much. I feel I owe family constellations a debt of gratitude. It transformed my relationship with food in a very profound way. I did my first family constellation back in 2009 when I'd already been a Zen meditator for many years and felt that I had an incredible amount of insight and felt that I was living in a very embodied way. And there were layers and layers and layers of denial still in me. I'm not saying that to beat myself up. We'll never be perfect. We'll always keep searching and finding new things about ourselves. But the first constellation that I did really laid out in front of me as some of the issues that I'd never quite been able to understand, and gave me a family perspective, showed me how patterns repeat, and that we, as you shared, somehow live out and carry, some of us, things that the family hasn't quite resolved, things in the past, things in our current families that haven't been honestly expressed. And I think illness can be a very powerful vehicle through which the unspoken can be told. Sadly, we suffer through that, and we suffer from the dishonesties that can that somehow gather in families. Families seem to be systems in which often we do, as you share, have a sense of loyalty, and as a result, sometimes family systems can cut themselves off from the wider systems in the world, cut themselves off from support, and then certain members of the family who are more susceptible and perhaps more brave take on some of those burdens, I believe, and our bodies need to find a way to express them. So illness can be a way in which our vulnerabilities express the taking on of the burdens that we have. We all have certain propensities, I believe, to certain diseases. So family constellations has been personally very, very transformational for me. But I would say that my own journey's real passion is to work with our internal families according to a brilliant model of psychotherapy that I've been studying and working with both in myself and with my clients for the past 4 years with Ernest. It was a model that was designed about 30 years ago in America. It now has evidence-based status in America through its work actually with people that have arthritis, seeing that mind-body link and how healing can occur through working with our own subpersonalities. It was developed by a family therapist called Richard Schwartz, who I'm grateful to say was the person that trained me through the different levels and qualified me. And he really got a sense of having had a lot of experience with families and the ways that different families and family members interact. He really got a sense that we have a similar thing going on inside us. Significantly, we can have parts of us that want to heal and change and grow and flourish, and parts of us that feel that it's not safe to do so. And even parts that feel that they have to do self-destructive things or things that set us back in order to keep us safe or small or hidden when we've had traumatic experiences, either in our lives or passed down through what we call legacy burdens, which family constellations very much shows when a burden is passed down from one generation to the next. So I'm really coming from a place of personal growth with internal family systems. I've learned how to be much, much more gentle with myself, particularly learning how to start to grow and change through becoming aware of my very shameful parts, the parts of me that have been shamed in the past, that hold shame and think that I'm not good enough. I really started to awaken to this work through my coaching work with mostly women that were finding themselves eating compulsively as a prop in their lives, as a crutch and a means of comforting themselves or trying to comfort themselves. And through my coaching work and through the suggestions I was making, although there were lots of amazing miracles, I also found that sometimes even just for me to be there caused some of my clients to feel ashamed of their problem. And I realized that this was a bit more complex than just making suggestions and expecting that change would come from those suggestions, that really parts of my clients could really, really be on board with the process of change, and parts of them really felt that it wasn't safe. And until I could really start to allow those people to connect themselves with their own parts and reassure their own parts, and even negotiate between their different parts, that maybe change could be something that would be safe, and that they would be there holding their parts through the process, and start to really offer their parts hope that hurt parts of them that were stuck back in a particular time or place really could be unburdened, and could find a way that they could heal and grow and change and let go of the fear or the despair or the shame that they'd been carrying, and thus no longer need to do the different behaviors that were keeping their lives small and keeping them from being creative. Really finding a way in which they themselves could be the guider of their lives, and the ones that bring about their change. And I think that's a really significant thing about internal family systems, that as the therapist, we really aren't the ones to bring about change. We're really just a facilitator of change. It's the growing, respectful and appreciative relationship between us and our parts, every part of us, that is the significant agent for change. That is why I'm very passionate about this work, because it's just an honor to be on a journey with people, but not to ever feel that I am the person that creates change in another person. That has been such a relief for me, as someone that I think in the past traditionally has taken too much responsibility, both in my own family and with my clients. So to just really let go and notice that when I do that, and when I can affirm and encourage people to have that relationship with their own parts and with their own journey of change, actually that's when the transformations really take place. So I'm grateful for IFS, because I think it offers me the opportunity to keep practicing with that, which is my leading edge, I guess. And also because it provides this framework where I can work in a group of people, where we can share our own experiences, and where we can create a supportive environment, a confidential environment, where we are all holding each other and honouring each other in the changes that we're all ready to make. So yeah, it's been an incredible journey, not just of my healing, but witnessing other people in their own healings. And I'm just excited, because I think it's just getting better. So Fran, over to you. I'd love you to share a little bit more about the exciting things that are coming up in the work that we're doing together.
Great, yeah. So we're going to share about. I got a bit of echo of my voice. So we're going to share about opportunity to work with us in a couple of different contexts, and then we're going to have an opportunity to do a little family constellation practice, meditation practice, and then there's also time for some Q&A if you've got any questions coming up. And we're also going to hopefully bring Joanne, our retreat manager, on live with us as well, if that goes to plan. So I'll give you some notice in a minute, Joanne, about that, or maybe soon after the practice you can come on. So my colleague Sophie and I have been running retreats for many, many years together. And a couple of years ago, we developed Women's Wellness Circle, which is about gathering women together in conscious sisterhood to explore tried and tested tools to support healing. And last year, for the first year, we brought family constellations work to the retreat, and also internal family systems, thanks to Naomi, who's with us now. And so Sophie's not going to be co-hosting the retreat this year with me. This year it's going to be Naomi and I co-hosting the retreat. And we will be exploring the usual things we do on retreat, which is things like a morning meditation, a movement practice, creating a deep, safe, and held and confidential space for the women who come, sharing exercises, embodiment practices, time to enjoy the lake the nature around, time to enjoy connection with the other women on the retreat, by the fire or just in circle together, or in the sauna, in the hot tub. So it's 5 days in nature, and women find it deeply transformative and healing. And some women have been coming for many years, including Joanne, actually, who you can find her talking about the retreat on this channel somewhere. And also hopefully Joanne will join us in a bit as well, who's been coming for many years, and we've hired her as our retreat manager for this year to help us with all the logistics and to help managers and help it all flow and be smooth. So yeah, it's really is the highlight of my year holding the retreat. It's like my absolute joy and pleasure to be live in circle with women in nature, and to be exploring tried and tested tools for healing. So we will be doing a family constellation or an internal family systems exercise or process for every woman who comes, and it really will be an opportunity to do some deep healing work, as well as to explore tools like emotional freedom technique and meditation and movement practices, and the lovely time to share and connect with each other and eat nourishing food and be looked after for a few days. So, and also before that, on the 11th of November, we're going to do a taster session of the retreat at the Still Point practice in Sheffield on Montgomery Road, which is a beautiful therapy centre. So there'll be an opportunity to join us for that, and then stay for lunch, and we can all have lunch, and you can ask any questions about the retreat. So those of you who are local to Sheffield, it'd be great if you could come to that as well. So Naomi, is there anything else you wanted to add about the retreat or the taster workshop? Or?
Yeah, I think what's coming to me is that one-to-one healing is very, very important. I have developed and blossomed so much through one-to-one healing, and there is something unspeakably powerful and profound and extremely gentle and wonderful about being held within a group of other people who are open and seeking their own healing, their own contentment, seeking to live a life of gentleness and share this journey with other people. I find that this process of being in a group really seems to catalyze my healing and shift me to a completely different level. It's interesting to see the different things that can come up in groups. Sometimes it's challenging. Sometimes groups bring out some of our issues like nothing before. And so that's why it's so important to have a safe space, which is created respectfully with boundaries, where we can all share, but there are processes within which we can share what is coming up for us. I think safety is very important in groups. Some of us have unfortunately been at the hands of groups where safety, even through our school lives, through work environments, where safety wasn't created in groups and where shame came up as a result. So really that's grist for the mill to bring here, because this is going to be a very different experience, a very transformational experience, and a very loving experience for any woman that is the right woman to come on this retreat, any woman that feels called to really bring her life and her journey of healing to a new level. And when I say a new level, I don't necessarily mean a higher level, because I don't believe it's like a ladder that we keep climbing. I see it more as shifting from one dimension to the next, and really taking our bodies with us. If our bodies are not with us, then I don't believe it's sustainable. So as Fran said, every practice that we do is going to be an embodied practice. It's going to start in stillness. It's going to start in a feeling of deliciousness and freedom in our body. And also there's going to be a real sense of the atmosphere of effortlessness that we're going to bring into this retreat. And so there's a big difference between effortlessness and collapse. So when I say effortlessness, I'm really thinking more about really letting things flow, letting whatever needs to come up, whatever needs to bubble up in the mind, in the body, in the space, to welcome it and to allow it to come up, and for it to be held and for it to be seen and for it to have a chance to change, whether it's a part within ourselves, whether it's something that comes up in the group, in the dynamics in the group. It's going to be an opportunity to really be curious and be gentle with it and be compassionate with it and explore the relevance of what comes up with the difficulties that we might be struggling with our lives and with our health. So I'm very excited about this retreat. I'm coming for the second year, running to help Fran facilitate. And it's, yeah, I just feel this real sort of quiet, sort of excited bubbling of gathering, the way that I do when women start to gather in circle, you know, as the retreat starts to fill up now. There's a sense of curiosity about who the women are, and what we'll all bring, and how we'll all make this a really special and safe space to take care of each other and help one another heal and grow. So yeah, just welcoming and inviting all of you that feel called to be here and to be at the retreat with us.
Beautiful, thank you, Nao. So I'm going to, in a moment, do a family constellation inspired meditation practice, and then there'll be opportunity if you've got any questions to ask them, and also Joanna, if you can come in just as I'm wrapping up the practice, that would be great. And yeah, and then there'll be a final embodiment practice at the end. So if you want to take a moment to close your eyes and to bring your awareness inside your body, just noticing what the landscape is like in your body now, from the practice you did with Naomi earlier, and from the information that you've been absorbing since then. Just taking a moment to scan your body from the crown of your head, slowly down. Allow your jaw to soften. Have a gentle smile at your lips. Bring your awareness down the whole of your head, your neck, down your shoulders, let your shoulders soften, and down your arms all the way down to your fingertips. Bring your awareness down from your shoulders, down the whole of your torso, down to your pelvis. Really taking a moment to inhabit your body fully with your awareness. Moving down from your pelvis, all the way down your legs, all the way down to the tips of your toes. Taking a moment to really come into your body. Have a gentle smile at your lips. You can send that smile through your body, smiling eyes, smiling heart, sending it all the way down through your body. Take a moment to really be centered in your own body, in your breath going in and out. And perhaps take a moment to have a sense of connecting to the ground beneath you. Maybe sending roots down through the soles of your feet into the earth beneath you. Maybe taking a moment to imagine breathing with the earth. On an in-breath, you're drawing up from the earth. On an out-breath, you're sending your awareness down into the ground beneath you, helping to root and anchor you here. And then take a moment to imagine your parents stood behind you. Imagining your mother and your father stood behind you. And keeping centered in your own body, noticing what your sense of the energy of your mother and father is right now. And if you notice any disturbing feelings coming up, then you can either use some EFT to help yourself, to help let them flow. You can just hold the points or tap them and follow me. Or you could just breathe through the feelings if they emerge. Or maybe they just feel like a resource. Your mother and your father. Or maybe one feels like more of a resource than the other. Just noticing how it feels when you imagine your parents behind you. Noticing whether that energy feels strong or weak, resourceful or less resourceful. Noticing the feelings that arise in you as you imagine your parents. And then take a moment to include their parents. So imagine your grandparents behind your parents. And just noticing how that feels. Whether that feels like more of a resource or whether there's anything that comes up in you as you imagine your grandparents. And then you can keep going back, even and imagining ancestors further back behind you. And feeling the bigger whole structure of your whole family system, the whole of the whole that helps to contain and is bigger than any traumas that any of your family members have experienced or any patterns that have been sent down the line from past unresolved events. There's something bigger. Maybe there's even a flow of love. Maybe there's a really resourceful ancestor that you've never, not even thought about. Maybe you don't even know them, but you just feel this sense of resource there. Even if you can find any sense of resource or love flowing from your connection to your family, and also an honouring of your history and an honouring of your family and everything that had to happen in order for you to be here, in order for you to be alive, all the different relationships and connections that had to happen in order for you to be here. It's a pinnacle of evolution in your family system. So taking a moment to be grateful for that, to be here. You could perhaps taking a moment to turn around and look at your family system, look at all your parents, look at your grandparents, and just take a moment to really take in what the love that's there, the resource that's there, and any pain. See if you can have a sense of leaving that fate with the person that had that fate, and unburdening yourself from any load you might be carrying from that family member. Also including in your awareness anything that's not been included, with love, with compassion, with an open heart. If any feelings come up for you as you do this practice, you can do the tapping points to help with the feelings, to help get relief, or you can just breathe through the feelings. You can feel the resource of anybody in your family systems that is resourceful, or if there doesn't feel like there's many resources in your family system, you can also call on a sense of support from Naomi and I, from any connections you have in your life today that are loving and supportive, any friendships, community. Just take a moment to imagine yourself bowing to your family system, and as you bow, you're honouring anything that belongs. You're making a decision to hand back with love anything that doesn't belong with you, any pain that you've carried. And then you can, as you feel ready, slowly start to imagine yourself turning round. Slowly taking time over it. Brings up emotion, you can keep with the tapping or breathing through anything that comes up. And then imagining yourself looking towards your own life, your own destiny, your own future. Maybe seeing the destiny that you want, the future that you want. While you've honoured the past, and you're able to walk towards the future that you want. You're able to become your full self. You're able to step into your own life in whatever way that means, whether that means in your health to be more healthy and empowered, whether that means in your career, whether that means in your relationships, in your own family, if you've already created your own family or would like to. So just visioning the future you want. Maybe taking a moment to imagine yourself stepping towards that future. And really taking a moment to step into the life you would like. Your full self, your destiny, your whole self, your healthy self, your healthiest self. Smile to yourself. See what you see, notice what you notice. So you'll really be able to become the fullest, happiest, most whole version of yourself. Feeling like you're living your purpose. You've honoured the past, you've connected to the past, and yet you honour your future too, and the present moment fully. With a smile at your lips. And just imagining that by really starting to honour the past in this kind of way, we can provide some relief for our system that enables a fuller and deeper healing and wholeness and embodiment to occur. Supporting our nervous systems and our bodies in rewiring themselves back to health, back to that blueprint of health that is within your body. the core level your being wants for you. Smile into yourself. Coming back to the here and now. Coming back to the here and now, this present moment. Perhaps giving yourself a hug, stroking your upper arms, and anything that's come up through this process. Holding it in love, holding it in compassion, in that open heart that Naomi so beautifully guided you into, or that sort of spacious heart. Okay. So slowly coming back, if you want to, you can rub your hands together, build up some energy there, place your hands over your eyes, and slowly opening your eyes and coming here fully. So we have a little bit of time for Q&A now. If anyone has any questions that's come up, and those questions could be about the retreat, they could be questions about family constellations, about internal family systems, and I just wanted to just share, because I was bringing in that concept of becoming our most full selves. One of the things that was really insightful that I have been learning about in my training in the Netherlands with Stefan Hausner is about how illness often occurs and the transition from a sense of belonging to your own family system, that means your nuclear family, your mother, father, yourself, your siblings, to stepping out into the world in some way, maybe into a career, into developing your own relationship, perhaps developing your own family system. When there's some kind of sort of challenges in that transition because of unresolved things from the past, that's when illness can often occur. So it was really interesting for me to reflect on why I got unwell when I was so young, only age 19, to think about that transitional time, an important time. And another time that can also be the time that people often get illness is soon after having a child. And when you have your own child, that is a real sense of like stepping out of your own family system and really developing your own system. I mean, obviously you're still connected to your family system from your family of origin, but you are creating your own system. So those transitional moments can be more stressful for the system when there is unresolved things in the system, when everything's not complete and whole. That doesn't happen so naturally and organically, so it's more stressful. When anything's more stressful, a time is more stressful in some way, then there's higher likelihood that it can cause physical illness, or will be part of the problem or perpetuate it, or so yeah. So I think that's quite an interesting thing to mention. So Naomi, I just wondered, while we're waiting for Joanne hopefully to come in, maybe some questions to come possibly, and I hope I'm not missing your questions, but I'm not seeing any questions come up at the moment. It's the first time, well, the second time I've done a YouTube live video. The first time was earlier today, just to announce it. So we're quite new to this, but if you can leave us a question, and Joanne, if you could come in, that would be great. And yeah, Naomi, is anything coming up for you that you want to share?
Thank you, Fran. Yeah, just as you were describing there, those transitional times, I could really feel that did apply to me in my eating disorder. And when things started to get really chaotic for me, it was a case of, can I create my own life, and can I step into the life I love? And really feeling that actually I couldn't. That somehow there was a lot of unresolved stuff that needed to come through me and sort of burst out into the world in a way that felt very unwelcome at the time, but that I'm now very, very almost, well, grateful for, because it sort of brought me into a place where I needed to sift and sort through what I did and didn't want, and what I wanted to let go of and move forward into a much more healthy and much more free life. So really great to have that affirmed, that, you know, that's totally normal. There's nothing strange about having illness in any way, whether it's mental, physical, spiritual illness. There's nothing unusual about it. You know, we are all part of a system where sometimes baggage just carries on being passed down. So, and the lucky ones of us, do have that come up for them in their awareness. I don't have any questions coming up on my screen either. So also not sure if questions are being asked. We're both very, very new to YouTube Live.
And it's also possible that actually Joanne can't join us after we've started. I've just realised, because we've never done this before, I've just kind of assumed she can join us after we've started, but it's possible she can't, so we might not hear from Joanne. So don't worry, Joanne, if you can't get in, it's no problem at all. So if you do have any questions, please post them now, or maybe we can speak to anything else you want to speak to, Naomi, before we start to round it up with a final practice today.
Just that, really, that if you have any questions, just because we can't see them now, don't worry. Post them afterwards, or post them now. We will see them. And if you want to just Facebook either of us or get in touch that way. Also, we can put you in touch with Joanne if you have questions about the retreat. Then she'll be able to answer any of those after the recording. But I am going to just wrap up now so that we can keep within our time boundary.
Okay, so just to quickly mention about Joanne's email address. If you want to contact her, Joanne, it's joanne@womenswellnesscircle.com. That's joanne@womenswellnesscircle.com. And she's actually available for about half an hour after the call today. So if anyone really wants to chat to her about the retreat now, you can email her and arrange a quick chat with her now.
Great. So that's Joanne, JOANNE @womenswellnesscircle.com. Hope I got that right, Fran.
Yeah.
Great. So I think we've been doing a lot of talking, and sometimes for me, when I do a lot of talking, I can pop up into my head, although Fran's meditation really helped things to come right down into my body. I'm going to just end the call by guiding us just through one last final, just checking our body, checking our parts, seeing what's been stirred up by this call. And maybe new things, maybe stuff about our parents, our families, maybe some things that feel a bit painful to look at again. And perhaps that was a bit unexpected at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon, to be suddenly plunged into thinking about things that maybe sometimes it's easy to not think about, not look at, and that's perfectly understandable. But just being present with anything that feels like it's been brought up, whether it's joy and relief at seeing how normal we all are in our suffering, in our change. And noticing also how that comes through the body, whether it's intention or a feeling of fluidity and flight in the body. And spatially where in the body it comes up, whether it comes up in the feet, a restlessness, or a tingling in the belly, maybe a tension in the muscles somewhere. Just allow the awareness to go wherever it feels it needs to. And really getting a sense of affirming yourself in your process. We are all in process all the time. We're all changing. We're all growing. We're all learning how to connect more and more. The fact that you're on this call shows that you're open and willing and curious. And it's with that attitude that we change. So thank your parts for being on board, even the ones that feel a little bit slower, more reluctant, more resistant to this. Just let them know that this is always at your pace. You are the one in charge here. They are the ones in charge. If it doesn't feel safe, it probably isn't safe. So thank them for being here, keeping you safe and doing the work that they do for you to keep you safe. And just let all the information that you've heard on this call just settle. Settling down now like mud that's been stirred up in a pond. Just letting it settle, letting the water clear. And staring into that pond and seeing just the crystal clear waters of your mind. You can see now that Joanne's joined the call. If anyone has any questions now, just as we're ending this meditation, then this is your chance. But just taking one last breath now. Maybe wriggling the fingers or the toes, bringing a slightly deeper breath into the body and stretching. Preparing to get on with your day now as this call comes to an end. And yeah, it's been a pleasure to be here, and thank you, Fran, for joining me and for us both being here. Thank you, and Joanne as well.
Thank you, Joanne. Does Joanne want to say a quick hello or anything, Joanne, about your experiences of the retreats or being here today?
Hello, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Right. I've been on the retreats with Frances for 7 years now, and I look forward to them every year. They're absolutely amazing. The tools and techniques that you learn on these retreats, you can take them home with you. There's also the bonds that's generated between the other women, the support that's generated. It's unbelievable. And then when I get home, the amount of peace that's generated from being there, it's a wonderful experience, and I can't recommend the retreats enough. every year they just get better and better with new techniques and things.
Beautiful. Thank you, Joanne. And thank you everyone who's joined us live today. It's been wonderful to...
I'm afraid.
Sorry, say again?
I'm having some technical issues. I've got funny names.
Oh, don't worry, don't worry. There's been some technical issues at the start and the end. That's no problem at all. Okay, so thank you so much, those of you who've joined us live, and those of you that are also listening to the replay as well. And we'll post a link to the retreat below this video as well, so you can find out more information about that. And as I mentioned, you can contact Joanne at womenswellnesscircle.com if you'd like to have a quick chat with her now or in the next couple of weeks about the retreat. Okay, so wishing you all well, and thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.